Accounting is a new language. Learn how to read between the lines. Here we have an actual problem from an exam I took in my intermediate accounting class. It says Buckley Corporation issued 8% 80,000 bonds on February 1st, 2024. The bonds pay interest each July 31st and January 31st and were issued to yield 7% to investors. The bonds mature January 31st, 2034. Okay, let's analyze this with different words to better understand. In other words, Buckley wanted to borrow 80,000 and therefore issued bonds, meaning Buckley is saying, hey, I'm looking to borrow $80,000. I'm going to issue bonds to investors, aka borrow money. Well, an investor could be interested in lending to Buckley, but they might say, but what do I get for lending this money to you? Especially when you're saying you're going to give it back to me in 2034, so 10 years from now. This is where we're going to go a next step and understand what the percents mean here in this problem. 8% is the coupon rate, which translates to Buckley is committing to pay the bond buyers, the investors, 8% of the total amount that is borrowed. In this case, 80,000. We call this the face value. Okay, so Buckley is saying, well, you're lending this money to me, but I'm going to pay interest to you because you're lending this money to me, and I am committing that it's going to be 8% of the money you're lending to me. I'm going to borrow 80,000, and then on top of that, I'm going to pay you 8% of the 80,000. Now, it's saying the bond pays interest each July 31st and January 31st. Okay, 2 different months, right? Interest paid in January, first month of the year, and July, 7th month of the year. Now, if we want to go for a more logical approach, I'm just going to do this math. I thought it would be helpful. July is the 7th month of the year, 7. January is the first month of the year, that's the one here. 7 minus 1 is 6. How many months in a year? 12 months in a year. 12 divided by 6 is 2, meaning interest is paid semi-annually, 2 times a year. So Buckley is saying, you're going to lend me this money, and I'm going to pay you twice a year, 8% of the total amount you're lending to me. Now, let's go ahead and review what this 7% yield to investors mean. Yield 7% to investors. This is the market interest rate or the effective rate, and this is what investors want based on what is happening in the bond market. This is what is acceptable to them. That's the minimum return they're looking or interest payments they're looking to obtain. Now, Buckley is saying, even though the market is offering 7%, I am going to give you 8%. So Buckley bond is offering a coupon rate of 8%. This makes it more attractive to investors, since the market is only offering yield 7%. Meaning that investors are going to receive higher interest payments at 8%. 1% more of what the market is currently offering. Therefore, investors are willing to pay more for Buckley's bond, meaning that the bond is then issued or sold at a premium. A bond is sold at a premium when it's sold for more than its face value because it pays more interest than what the market offers. It makes it more attractive to them. Imagine someone is saying, well, all the bonds that are being offered right now, people are asking you to borrow some money from you, and everyone else is asking, it's saying they're going to give you 7% interest payments, but there's this person that's going to give you 8%. It sounds very attractive, and you might want to lend money to that person that it's giving you more. It's more benefit. Now, that's the premium. The difference, the opposite of that, would be a bond sold at a discount, which is when a bond is sold for less than its face value because it pays less interest than the market offers. So in this case, we have a bond that costs less, meaning you're lending less money, and therefore the interest payments are also less. Now, you might think, just seeing the words, it might be confusing now. Let me actually explain this to you using a visual representation. Here we have a visual example of two different bonds with the same maturity, 10 years. We have bond A and bond B. Bond A is issued at a premium, sold at a premium. Bond B is sold at a discount. Now let's go ahead and follow the different categories and see how they differ and how they are the same. The coupon rate to start, I see that for bond A, the coupon rate is 8%. For bond B, the coupon rate is 6%, meaning that this bond right here is paying more interest than bond A. So the investors that buys this bond is going to get higher interest payments. Now let's move ahead to price. Now, price for bond A is $85,000. Price for bond B is $75,000. There's a $10,000 difference. Whoever buys bond A is going to pay more upfront, and whoever buys bond B is going to pay less upfront. Now, total interest, the payments made could be semi-annually, however they decide, but the interest payments are for bond A is $64,000. For bond B is paying $48,000 in interest payments. You could clearly see that bond A is paying more than bond B. Principal returned is the same. $80,000 and $80,000 for bond A and bond B. The principal return at maturity, it's $80,000. This is what they're both getting. Excuse me, I meant to put this right here. Now, total return, if we account for everything that is happening here, the total return for bond A, it's $144,000. For bond B, it's $128,000. The yield is the same. This is what is acceptable in the market right now. Now, you might say, oh my goodness, what a great, amazing deal. I am definitely going to buy bond A at a premium. This is amazing. I'm going to be making this much more than if I bought this bond at a discount. Great. Now, if you're focused only here, you might miss what happened here right in the front. Up front, you paid $85,000. This one is only paying $75,000. It's a $10,000 difference. Time value of money. Even though premium bonds pay more interest, they cost more upfront. And because future payments are worth less today, it all balances out to be the same return. So because you're paying more money today, which is worth more today than in 10 years, it balances out. You're paying, if you decide to pay less today, this is money that you're saving. This is the quotation mark. In some way, you're not paying this extra 10,000 to receive it in the long term, which is 10 years. $100 today is not worth the same as $100 10 years from now because of inflations and price and fluctuations and many things. But this is time value of money. So even though it appears that, wow, this is such a much better investment, actually the fact that you're paying more upfront than other bonds makes it balances out subsequently as the time goes by. Now, let me talk about this quote right here that says, it's not about more or less money in total. It's about the timing preferred of the return and hitting a consistent rate of return based on the market conditions. So what basically this is saying that you could find many different types of bonds that maybe are asking for 8% or 6% or a premium or a discount, but it's based on personal preference of the investors. Let's say premiums bonds are preferred by people who want more interest now. For example, retirees. Now, discount bonds are preferred by people who want to pay less upfront and then gain at maturity. So it all has its benefit depending on what are your personal needs, what it's going to benefit you the most. Getting more money now or getting more money later. Thank you for watching my video. Hope this helped. Oh my goodness, let's give you a smiley face. Let's give you a smiley face because you did great. Here's your smiley face. Thank you for watching my video.